Good morning to all here present and to those who join us by live stream across the United States, from Ireland and from Kenya and Poland, as we come together today to give God thanks for the life of our dear sister Pat Barrett. Sister Pat was born to Irish parents in Brooklyn, New York on May 31st, 1938. She delighted in all things Irish and carried within her something of the Celtic spirit, a spirituality that found expression in everyday holiness, in the practical things of life, not just in formal institutions. It is no coincidence she was born on the Feast of the Visitation, a feast emphasizing the ordinary, centering on joy, faith, and the recognition of God's work in the lives of the humble and faithful. Sister Pat was a deeply spiritual woman and truly a humble servant, believing her mission was to continue Mary's mission. Sister Pat's complete self-offering was manifested through final profession here at Fruit Hill in 1963, and would continue to deepen as she lived out her call with authenticity and integrity. Her life was a search for greater intimacy with the divine, often expressed in the depth of her personal and community prayer. In the early 60s, she began her nursing studies and qualified as a licensed practical nurse in 1966. She was known as an excellent nurse, most caring and compassionate. Faithful to her missionary calling, she departed for South Africa in 1968 and entered a country that was under an apartheid regime. This time of mission marked Sister Pat profoundly, raising her awareness of deep poverty and instilled in her the absolute necessity to treat all people equally, regardless of colour. She became one with the people as she studied to be a registered nurse and midwife, serving both in Our Lady of Peace Hospital, Durban, and Natal Hospital, where she was matron in the clinic. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. After she returned from South Africa with chronic back pain, she used her gentle smile, gift of listening, discernment, and wisdom as pre-novice directress in Chicago from 1985 to 1991. Many sisters have fond memories of Sister Pat, being present to everyone and the soul of the community. She was outgoing, sociable, and welcoming. In addition to her ministry and formation, she assisted the Missionary Volunteers group of students working with migrant farmers in North Carolina for several summers. Sister Pat lived her life with total trust in God, submitting to God's providence and unconditional love that gifted her with openness of heart and an optimistic spirit. Her attitude could be summarized thus: when God closes one door, He opens another. Sister Pat's heart was full of unwavering compassion always for the underprivileged, the overlooked and forgotten. This love for our most vulnerable brothers and sisters brought her to San Francisco in 1991, where she worked with drug addicts at the OFM outreach program in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. The story is told that on one occasion, Sister Pat and other FMMs gathered at the family home of an FMM sister. During the afternoon, Pat took the time to have a long conversation with one of the lay women whose teenage son was addicted to drugs. Some years later, this woman told the FMMs that thanks to Sister Pat's advice, her son went through the Mayo Clinic drug rehabilitation program successfully and was happily married with children. While she was stationed in San Francisco, She loved to attend Mass at St. Paul of the Shipwreck in one of the poorest neighborhoods of the Bay Area. There, with joyful abandon, she would participate in the beautiful singing of the children's choir as they rendered gospel and Afro-American hymns accompanied by the beat of the African drums. Sister Pat was the embodiment of a servant leader, one who led not from a place of authority alone, but from humility and integrity, taking seriously the words of Jesus, "Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant." She was convinced that true leadership meant listening first and empowering others to grow. She was a mentor to many of us, her FMM sisters. She saw potential and goodness in others. And she believed that in owning and honoring our own life experiences, we are more confident in facing others who may disagree with us. Perhaps a lesson learned in South Africa, where she dug deeply into her Franciscan heart and allowed Franciscan joy to burst forth. One sister recalls how she learned from Sister Pat that life with its difficulties presents joyful moments, waiting to be grasped at, opening her eyes differently to the gift of Franciscan joy. Her leadership style was marked by so much compassion and insight. We remember her great interventions at provincial chapters, a sister full of wisdom and spontaneity too. At the closing Mass of one of our chapters, when the hymn rang out, "Alleluia, raise the gospel over the earth," Sister Pat stepped out into this central aisle, faced the congregation, and began to dance gracefully and prayerfully to the rhythm, moving side to side and up the aisle, and others followed her. It was delightful. 2006 saw her engage once more with the weak and vulnerable, where she became the director of the Wellness Center at St. Anthony's Shrine in Boston. Her dedication, gentleness, and kindness touched countless lives. She had a beautiful sense of wonder and often remarked about the beauty of nature around her, her tender heart recognizing the divine in all of creation. Unburdened by the need for approval and guided by her own convictions, she moved through life with grace, honesty, and an open heart. Sister Pat was always attentive to others, taking time to listen in a patient and loving way, heeding the advice of Blessed Mary of the Passion. Lighten each other's burden by your peace and charity. Many sisters were soothed over a cup of tea and a chat with Sister Pat. Family members too benefited from her non-judgmental listening presence, and I believe she was affectionately known as Aunt Patsy. She was particularly close to her two sisters, Mary and Anne, and to her nephews and nieces, some of whom join us here today. She possessed a truly calming presence in any situation and was able to look on the brighter side of life through her marvelous sense of humor. She took time at the table with others, not rushing off. She genuinely liked to sit and listen to people's conversations. Her quick wit brought much joy and comfort. She believed that laughter was healing and that no party was complete without a good story, preferably one told with humor and a twinkle in her eye. Pat had a great gift for celebration. We learned from her not to take life too seriously and to meet adversity with courage and a smile. Her smile reflected her generous spirit and her genuine love for people. Pat was missioned to St. Francis Community, Roslyn, New York in 2014, where she assumed a leadership role as local coordinator of the community. In addition, she became a valued member of the St. Francis Hospital Foundation Board and endeared herself to many. During this time, she underwent serious back surgery and lost much of her independence. She persevered as best she could, holding a positive attitude when at times she endured great physical pain. Sister Pat returned to Rhode Island in 2022 and became a member of the FMM Assisted Living Program, joining Holy Family Community. When her health significantly deteriorated, she was missioned to Ein Korean Community in residence at St. Antoine's, North Smithfield in 2024. Sister Pat's influence on so many was a prayerful, loving, listening attentiveness. Born on the Feast of the Visitation and called to her eternal reward on the Feast of Our Lady of Lourdes, Sister Pat is surely singing and dancing her Magnificat in the eternal kingdom. My soul glorifies the Lord my God, and my spirit rejoices in God my Saviour. Pat, our dear sister, a beautiful FMM, may you rest now in the peace of God's eternal love.